And joining us now on this Capital Outlook profile is Representative Don Burkhart from Rawlins, House District 15. Representative, welcome.
Thank you.
You're in a
pleasure to be here.
A leadership role in the Wyoming House of Representatives.
Yes.
You're Speaker Pro Temp.
Yes.
What is that role, and what do you view your position as?
Well, I look at my position maybe a little different than other people look at that position. The biggest part of it in a normal sense is to fill in for the Speaker if the Speaker's unable to perform his duties for one reason or another. He either can't be here, maybe he would be ill, and to fill in so that we keep continuity. Other part is to supervise most of the communication for the legislature that goes out from the legislature, coordinate that, make sure it happens, make sure the legislature's
The media relations
gets heard. Yes,
role,
in
if you will.
effect, and that. And to run the majority caucuses. We meet on Wednesdays, and that's it. But I look at the role a little differently. One is to support the House, to support the members of the House, to get them what they need to have to do their job effectively, whether it's some extra training, some guidance on bills to help them see their way through things, help them with those things that people don't realize happen while you're here. You know, make sure, remind them, get enough sleep, and that sort of thing.
It's
also,
a younger House and a newer House. Was that role harder for you than you expected it to be?
No, not really. Over the years in my professional career, for one reason or another, I've always been assigned to mentor a lot of people, usually younger people. I found that, say, my generation and the current generation seem to have a better fit with each other than maybe the generation between us. And I can't explain why. I imagine a psychologist could. But the current generation and these younger House members I see have a great desire to learn from the old people. It's almost like, could you just take what's in your head and give it to us? They want instant work, but they want the knowledge and the skills. And so I try to help them get that. And that's part of it. The other part is to support the Speaker. Many times the Speaker is drawn in different directions, and I look at it as part of the job is to support the Speaker. For example, we had the Consulate General from Canada here a few weeks ago. We did not know he was coming at the time, and the Speaker was tied up, so I took care of those issues until the Speaker was able to get some time to spend with the Consulate General.
How did you first become involved in politics?
Frankly, I heard another representative gave a speech one time and said, the state budget is out of control and we don't know what to do about it. And I thought, wait a minute, you control the budget. It's kind of a dumb comment to say, and probably shouldn't say dumb, but not maybe inappropriate comment to say, we don't know what to do about the budget. So I filed and ran. Not a bucket list item, not a great desire in life to do this, but I felt I might have some skills and ability that could lend themselves to the legislature and then won that first election, and I'm in my fourth term now.
I've learned that you have some grandchildren.
Yes, 3.
And I've learned that you also make them something very special.
Yes, I do.
We're showing the viewers that picture on our screen right now. Describe what it is that you do.
What I've made them when each of my children have had a child or a grandchild is a Boston rocking chair, and that's a style from the 1700s, 1800s, early 1800s, with all the spindles and the turnings and everything, so that they can rock their babies. The one that you're showing the people is the most recent one. That was for my granddaughter, the first granddaughter, and it's made out of walnut. And that was at my daughter's request. The last one before that was made out of maple, again at my son and daughter-in-law's request on that one. And when my children were born, I have one made out of cherry that we've used over the years and still use to this day. And that I look at them as an heirloom that hopefully they'll have and they can hand down.
Representative, there were a lot of big issues that this legislature began to work on, but being from Rawlins, I want to ask you about the prison. This legislature has begun to save now for a prison. What are your thoughts on how work should now progress with what is becoming, by all accounts, and will be a very expensive issue for this legislature?
Yes, it will. We had last year, we had a task force that I think did a tremendous amount of very good work in a very short period of time. Started meeting in June and had a recommendation back to the governor and the legislature by December. And in governing time frame, you'd almost say that was warp speed. Legislatures, the government does move slowly at times. Just the way things are, we're trying to improve that. So had a recommendation after looking at all the problems that were there and made some recommendations on immediately needed repairs. Two areas, one on electrical and one on a main structural support wall in the penitentiary. And provided money. There was money there, and we authorized the expenditure of the money in conjunction with the governor. The task force and the governor had to both agree to spend the money, and that was a control on it. So we did that, and the recommendation, which was not unanimous, but we felt with the revenue picture and the budget picture we were looking at was probably a good one, which was to rebuild the current penitentiary. Pretty much take the penitentiary all the way to the framework and rebuild it. A lot of money there. And that was the formal recommendation. Coming into the session, there were a number of people who still felt that might not be the correct decision. Reason being, the penitentiary is already 20 years old. Excuse me. You'd only extend the life expectancy 30 years. So we've discussed, and a lot of people are on the side of let's build a new penitentiary. So no decision was made whether to repair or build new. And Craig, I'm not giving you a number. The reason being is numbers tend to stick, and the penitentiary a new one could cost a lot of money. I even gave a presentation on the floor and balked at giving a firm number because people take those numbers and they want to keep them forever. And we know it will change. We will find things that we did not expect to find, no matter what we do. What we've started doing, and we made some changes and set some direction for the future. One is that the Appropriations Committee will be the committee that will handle the penitentiary issues. Because
Judicial committees have done that in the past.
Right, but because of the amount of money and the experience on the committee, three of us on joint appropriations were on the task force. We will set the penitentiary committee there. We've given the committee access to $50,000 for a peer review of the existing reconnaissance study, which was a very long, involved study, to have a third party come in and say, yes, they got it right, or they missed some things. And that. So it's just another, spending this kind of money, you want to make sure you're right the first time going in. So it does that. We also set aside half of the money in the next budget that will start going into the Strategic Investments and Program account, what's called SIPA, and setting aside half of that money until we get $250 million. And I think that will build quickly. We'll be putting away hopefully just under $100 million each biennium. Even if we started the penitentiary today, it would be 2 years until we started any real work. You'd have to do designs, go out for bids, that sort of thing. So, and then we set aside an additional $15 million for emergency work, or if we had to transfer inmates, which I don't think we'll have to, and also allowed the Department of Corrections to keep $2 million of any money that might revert, meaning they don't spend it out of their budget, they can use that $2 million.
Representative, we have about 30 seconds left in this segment, but I thought you had an interesting role in the budget negotiations process. You are a member of the House Appropriations Committee.
Yes.
But you were not on the conference committee.
Correct.
But you had a role there.
Yes.
What did you view your role was? You were at every meeting, you were giving solid input, I thought. What did you think your role was?
My role, again, is to support the conference committee, because sometimes if you're on the committee, you're listening intently to the discussion and you may not be able to consider the discussion. So my role is to assist in taking those notes and maybe hearing and seeing things that others weren't aware of because of their intent participation.
You was there a time early on in those conferences that you were wondering whether or not you were going to come to an agreement?
No, I always felt we'd come to an agreement. Sometimes it's a little more difficult to get to than other times, but I felt we would get to an agreement that would work for everybody, and I think we did.
Well, Representative Don Burkhart, it's been a pleasure visiting with you. Thank you so much for joining us on this Capital Outlook Profile.
Thank you, Craig, very much for having me.